Live from Los Angeles, this is Rabbi Era Sherman and Rabbi on the Sidelines. This afternoon, we are joined by Jacob Emrani from the law offices of Jacob Emrani and calljacob.com. We'll speak about the intersection of sports and faith. Jacob, it's so good to see you here. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Rabbi. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to have some fun with you.
So I want to tell you one thing before we begin, because there are two songs that are really staples in my home. The first is L'Ador Vador from Sinai Temple that my children sing every Shabbat. But the other one that my daughter sings daily is Accident or Injury called Jacob Emrani. So on par with our liturgy here. So let's start with that. Who created that amazing jingle?
I'll tell you, throughout the whole time of when we decided to put a lot more emphasis on our firm and on our marketing, I always used to look around and see, the brands that have stayed around for a long time are the ones that actually have something that you can't forget. And, to every single person's ear, there's certain things that will stick. And, I went through so many different ideas trying to come up with something that I actually, don't mind listening to myself, and something that actually will stay with you. And after a lot of tries, we came up with our current jingle, and it's just been great. I always get such a kick out of it because I have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds whose parents send me this jingle, people who I don't even know and are kind enough to share it with me, all the way to being on a bar mitzvah. And I've got, an 80-year-old man comes up to me and starts to sing it. Not all the words are there, but I know what he's doing. So it's just been great. And, and it's just been wonderful.
Well, you'll get my daughter's recording this afternoon. Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
So you're an amazing lawyer. You're unbelievable what you do in terms of personal injury. But outside of that, what people really know you is also your connection to sports. So take us back to how you even got into sports. And did you ever dream of one day realizing that you would have billboards, and we'll talk about the billboards in a moment, but billboards in Los Angeles really making a deep impact in the Los Angeles sports community?
Yeah, all of, sports has a lot to do with my upbringing. And, when I left Iran and actually got a chance to come to the United States, I was 10 years old, and having come through really, really hard times when we had to flee the country because it was no longer safe. They had arrested my father. He had been put in jail for some time based on his religion and his status in the community. The moment he got out, we realized that unfortunately that's not the place that, is safe for us anymore. And we had to leave. And that's a 2-hour story on its own, where we got on horses and we had to go through the, back mountains of Turkey and really trying to get out of the country. And it took a long time. It was very uncommon versus a lot of other people who had fled the country. And by the time we ended up, landing in the United States and, coming to LA, I clearly remember that my dad used to always say that the most important thing here is education. And, we're going to try to find a place that's got the best school district, even if it means, we move into a small apartment and something we weren't used to based on maybe what we had in Iran, like many of the other people who have fled the country from Iran and are here. So we ended up going to, the Beverly Hills School District, got a, small apartment, basically, 2 houses away from the school. And, going to school, being new to a country where you don't really know the language very well, wanting to belong, wanting to make friends is not easy. And, one way that I could relate was trying to learn how to play sports. And, I had a younger brother who's about, 3.5 years younger than me. And, he would follow what I would do, and I would follow what my dad and mom would tell us to do. So, learning how to play sports and belonging was a real easy way to make friends, and, worked out really well because, my brother and I were both pretty decent in sports. So when you're okay in sports, you get picked on teams and you belong and you're not left out, which is, obviously very difficult for all kids. And that was the start of getting into sports and, really loving sports, loving the competition, being able to have the camaraderie, with your friends and making brand new friends, was really, really important. And it helped because as we became older and you become 12, 13 years old and, we're like, what are we going to do now? And okay, I want to go and play in a league. So, my dad put us at the YMCA, the local YMCA, so we can play basketball. And it's always interesting because even now, years later, when I get together with my friends, they all say, my dad didn't know what I was doing. He would just drop me off. But opposite to that, my father would actually drop my brother and I off every Saturday, and he would actually come and sit there, and he would sit there through the games, and he would actually encourage us. And he became kind of the dad to a lot of my friends whose parents didn't really care about sports or didn't really come. And, that kind of helped because then when you go home and you want to turn on the TV and as a kid, you want to watch a Laker game, but if your mom or dad are not into it, they're like, let's change the channel. But my dad would sit and would watch with us. And still to date, he sits and, watches with us. So it was a really nice way to be able to make friends, but also nice family bonding to be both playing sports and watching sports.
No, it's interesting that you said that sports was the thing that got you really assimilated into this country, but also were that family connection bonding. Basketball is also my passion, the sport I call the equalizer. And I actually remember a conversation we had on the rooftop here at Sinai with Keen, kids enjoying exercise now, and realizing, especially through the special needs community, what sports can do in a very powerful moment as well. So take us to that route then. You're a Laker fan growing up, always an amazing franchise over the years, not new in terms of winning. But there were a couple of down years. I landed here in 2009, sort of the end of the Kobe era. And then we had that shift to the LeBron era. So we're going to show a little clip. If you're not from LA, you're going to see what was on the streets of LA in the billboards, and we'll talk about that.
Vegas's odds show that he should be here. Steve and I talk every day. He's the greatest, person to talk to about sports. And I'm very confident that, LeBron is going to come here. This is the place for his family. He wants to raise a family. He's got his businesses here, great weather. And then for basketball reasons, we've got a great young core. Right. And that's what he needs at the end of his career.
Right. He has a house in Brentwood, not too far from here. LeBron actually talked about your billboards when that happened. Let's play that and get you to react.
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, listen, my kids see things like that. They think it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool. It's flattering more than anything that, a fan of a team or somewhere will, want me to play for, in their city. So, it's very flattering.
So I thought that was brilliant. I read in the article, actually it was in the New York Times and the LA Times, that you knew that he was going to be practicing at UCLA. So you didn't just put this outside your office, outside your home, outside where other people saw it. You put it where he was going to see it. So how did you come up with that process, and when did you realize that success was in the works?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Before that, I always thought, how cool would it be, for the Lakers? Hey, as a Laker fan, we have 10 good years and 2 bad years. I mean, that's just been the history.
That's like a Bible story in Joseph, the 7 years and the 7. So
that's it. But unfortunately, since 2013, we had gone through literally 5 years of being irrelevant, in the NBA. And, as a diehard Laker fan and as a diehard fan, you're always thinking about, who do you need on your team to get better? So it's funny because, the last summer they were looking to draft Lonzo Ball. And it's funny, and nobody knows the story, but, Lonzo Ball was like really hyped, and people were saying, are they going to pick him? Are they not going to pick him? Which direction are they going to go? And, I was talking to, my kids and my brother and my wife, and we were all chatting about how cool would it be if we put up maybe a recruitment of, hey, Lonzo Ball's the guy. But then, his dad is a firecracker. And I said, I don't really think, I want to deal with that. So that idea kind of, went, out the window. And as the time went by, I began to really see sort of what LeBron was doing. And I said, LeBron on the Lakers sounds really good because LeBron likes to join teams that has a young core. He likes to, bring teams that are down, and he had just, won in Cleveland and, really thought he's done all he can in Cleveland. And with everything happening here locally, his businesses were growing, in LA. So I was talking to my kids and I said, guys, what do you think if, we put up some billboards recruiting LeBron? And funny enough, a few days before it, I saw that a billboard had gone up in New York. A few days after that, some businessman put up 3 billboards in Philly. And I was like, okay, is this a sign? And I'll never, forget. It was a Shabbat. We're sitting around. I had, my boys there. My brother was there, my parents, my wife, and we were just chatting. And I said, what? I'm going to do this. I said, we're going to put up some billboards. And I looked up the schedule. And lucky enough, it was 10 days from then is when he was going to be coming to LA to not only be in LA to play the Lakers, but he was about to play the Clippers. And I said, what are the chances? We're going to get him here for an extended period of time. I knew where they would stay as a hotel. Yes, as an adult, I followed where the team stays.
I'm with you.
So you understand. And I knew that they used to practice at UCLA. So, worked really hard with my marketing team. We went through at least probably 100 different designs of the billboard. I'm really crazy with that unless it's exactly the way I want any of my marketing to be, whether it's right or wrong or whether it works out or not. I always like, my personal, signature to be on it. So finally we came up with, some billboard designs, and we were able to find those billboards and paid extra to be able to get the availability on those dates when he was coming. And lucky enough, everybody worked so hard. My team worked so hard. We're able to get him up right as they landed in LA. And, he saw it going to UCLA multiple times as he was practicing.
So was there any cooperation with the Lakers? Did they think, I know that the Lakers aren't allowed, the NBA teams aren't allowed to do that specifically. This was literally a private idea that you said, what, we're going to try this out.
Absolutely. And, at that time I had 0 relations with the Lakers. It was literally a private citizen, a fan,
That's awesome.
Or, would you say a fanatic who decided to invest, money from his own pocket in order to put up these billboards. And people thought I'm crazy. But, really the whole purpose of the billboard and why it's so great looking at it now, three years later, is it really was all about my passion for the Lakers. I never thought about it, what else it's going to do. I never thought about how much attention it's going to get. It was just really, as a fan, me, myself, my kids, a lot of my friends, who probably would think it was crazy. We did it. And, and it was nice. It got some nice attention. And when he actually decided, on July 4th, to actually announce he's coming to the Lakers, it was a dream come true.
So I want our audience to understand what Jacob Emrani just said. It happened at Shabbat dinner. Miracles happen at Shabbat dinner. Gather around that table and you'll never know what the light of Shabbat will bring. So you said you didn't have a personal relationship with the Lakers before being a private citizen and a diehard fan. So then what was the next step to, in fact, you go to Staples Center right now, there's the Call Jacob everything. So what was that next step to realizing that, wow, I can actually be a sponsor of the team?
Right. So, the next step basically came with, the Lakers reached out to me and wanted to see if I'm interested, to do some stuff with them. And they were more than kind, and how they treated the whole process. And, it was really more of a dream come true. I don't think I could ever imagine being able to be a sponsor of, my favorite team, everything that I look at every day, even, now, just because I got on, I'm checking to see, how Anthony Davis is doing for tonight's game. So, everybody has their own passion. Everybody has a hobby. And, my passion and my hobby are the Lakers. And we were able to put together, a nice sponsorship deal. And, I was able to put my 2 cents worth into it. And we've been working, and it's just been great. It's been absolutely awesome.
So I'll have to bring you back in a couple of weeks because you talked about the signs in Philly. I actually have Scott O'Neill, the CEO of the 76ers, on the show. And we can talk about the right billboards and the wrong billboards that happened a couple of years ago on July 4th.
Right.
As a sponsor, though, what are the differences that you have made within the community? Obviously, the Lakers take care of themselves on the court. We'll talk about in a few moments the do or die moment that we're going to see on TV tonight. Hopefully, the do. But what are the bigger differences that you try to make off the court based on the court sponsorships?
Yeah, so my mentality, my family's mentality, we've always been to try to make a difference on and off the court. Joining the Lakers as a sponsor was just another avenue. As a law firm, what we do every single year, which is very dear to my heart, is in October, we do a breast cancer awareness month. We turn all of our billboards, everything that we have, we turn it from yellow into pink.
Wow.
I do a cancer walk. We raise money. We do everything in our power for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October in order to be able to help. We're also involved with a lot of different causes in order to be able to help. The sponsorship with the Lakers has been great, and it's just been, the next chapter of trying to do more and more, with the community. And, recently we signed a deal to also be the sponsor of the LA Football Club, which is, a up and coming, very exciting soccer team here in LA. And they're also very much involved in the community. So, when I make my choices on who I would like to be, partnering up with or sponsoring, their vision, how they run everything, how they, deal with the community and community involvement is a very important part of it. And I make sure that that's an important part of every deal that I put together.
So last summer, actually pre-COVID summer, we took a Sinai Temple trip to LAFC, an interfaith night under the direction of one of the owners, Bennett Rosenthal.
Yep.
And this is a little clip of Jacob Emrani, the new sponsor of the LAFC.
We are happy to announce Jacob Emrani as our official law firm partner.
Welcome, Jacob. You're one of us.
Jacob, bienvenido a la familia.
Jacob, 우리 클럽에 온 거를 환영해.
When I first met Jacob, I could tell that he was passionate, authentic, and cared about our club and our community. And I think that's going to make for a great partnership. And we couldn't be more excited to have him as part of our family.
What's been the response from the community, both on the LAFC side and the LA Lakers? You said in an interview, I believe, that you are the voice of the people. You do that professionally, then you also do that personally. What does it mean to you to be the voice of the people and then to see the impact that those differences make?
Yeah, so, on a professional level, I like to be the voice of the people because, usually when people think about calling an attorney, they're always concerned about how much they have to pay them because it's normal for attorneys to be charging by the hour. One of the reasons that I took personal injury and really put all of my, life and passion into it is because I work on a contingency, which means no matter whether you can afford me or you can't, I can represent you because you're not paying me from your pocket. And the reason why I think that that's really important to be the voice of people is because I represent people who unfortunately are homeless and, they're sitting on the side of the sidewalk, and very recently a tree fell and it fell on top of somebody and he has brain injury. So we represent him, and he would normally never be able to hire an attorney, all the way to a person who has, hundreds of $millions in assets and was also injured in an unfortunate situations. And I get a call for that. So, I consider being the voice of the community because it gives me an opportunity to work on my dime with my investments in people's cases and being able to represent them and do everything I can. And the only way I get compensated at the end, Rabbi, is based on my results. So it's a very result-driven type of field. And, people can have a voice and they're not said no to if they have an actual case just because they can't afford me. So on the business side of it, I believe that's how, every day I live my life being the voice of our clients. It's now, this year is our 25th year of being in practice. And, we're very proud of what we've been able to do for the community. In terms of, the sports side of it, when we put up the billboards, I really felt like I was being the voice of the Laker Nation, right? You can think about everybody who's watching a game, has been unhappy, wants to get their voice out, but maybe is not going to invest that money in billboards, maybe doesn't have the, capability to do that. And I felt like when I was putting up these billboards, I was representing all of LA. I think I was representing everybody who wanted to, tell LeBron to come to LA. And, just the fan outpour was just incredible. I mean, and it continues. It still continues that, you're making that relationship. You're making that, one-on-one with everybody else who actually believes in the same thing you believe in. And, you just happen to be the one who's standing in the front and talking for them. And, the appreciation has just been incredible for both, the billboards, the Lakers sponsorship, and now, the LA sponsorship, the LAFC sponsorship is just different. It's a different crowd, but, the same. People are just showing a lot of love, which has been great.
So LeBron comes to LA, you help bring him here, and then he wins the championship, and we're sitting at home. What does it feel like to go back into Staples Center just a couple of weeks ago to really feel that presence and hopefully give him a kickstart to another run right now?
If anybody understands how that felt, it's you. You and I have had conversations, especially as that day on the rooftop talking about our passion for sports. But, sitting at home and watching when they actually made it to the finals that we've been waiting for so long, and not being able to be there and, be able to yell and scream and be able to cheer for them was obviously difficult for myself and every other sports fan, no matter what sport, you cheer for. But being able to get back into the Staples Center, being able to see them, this year still get into the playoffs and, with all the injuries they've had, has been absolutely awesome. I've gone to the last 3 or 4 games. I've taken my boys, I have 4 boys, 13, 11, 8, and 6, and they're all as, fanatic as their dad in sports. So they've had a chance to come to the games and they've had some fun. Actually, it's really interesting. In the last game we were at, where we were sitting, the boys were there and they were able to get Anthony Davis's towel, and they were able to get, a bunch of headbands from, Caruso and a couple other players. So, it's been fun. But as you and I just talked about, tonight's a big game for the Lakers. They're down 3-2. If they don't win tonight, it's over for the year. And as you can see, I'm wearing my purple tie, which is my lucky tie. And I hope it helps bring some luck to them. And, your prayers and my tie.
Yeah, it's like after the sermon when we give the kippah to the kids. It's like the towel, so you never know. But we got an extra stash of kippahs here. I want to go to the faith aspect for a second. You mentioned sort of briefly, and you said, maybe for another episode, we talk really about that upbringing, because that upbringing, as you said, shaped why sports was so important to feel a part of a community. We're in a country where you really didn't feel a part of, even though maybe geographically connected to. As a prominent, not just lawyer, but also part of this Jewish community, and I know with the very special occasion coming up within our own community, how important is that to you with that part? And then I'm going to ask the second part after.
Faith is extremely important. I believe that no matter what country you're in or what's going on in your surroundings, your faith all starts from the home. And, my wife and I work very, very hard to raise our children based on, our faith, our Jewish religion, as well as our background as Persians. And, being able to make sure that your kids, even at this time with all of the outside noise, understand the concept of the family home, be able to understand and really get, the information from their parents, being able to learn and understand and continue to, believe in the faith and understanding of what our ancestors did. why we're here and why we need to do and, follow it and make sure that it continues is a really, really important part of, my family base, because that's basically what helped my family, my parents, my brother and myself. That's what helped us get to where we are today. And that's what we hope that our children and, our family and the children in the community also, follow to the next generation and to the next steps in their lives.
So there's two conversations. We talked faith in your home. We talked sports outside of the home. And now the question that when we wrote back and forth before, you said, well, how does that connect? That's my question to you. And this is the question that I ask every week. Jewish sports broadcasters, people who are not Jewish that have played professionally in the state of Israel, people that are somehow connected to any type of, let's say, source above. Have you seen within your work within the sports world any type of aspect of faith in sports?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see it in every sport. I think in certain sports you see it a lot more. I think in certain sports you see them visualize it more. I think, when you watch football, you see that they're always, talking about God and, their faith. And that's what helped them get to the stage that they're at, to the big, to the big stage and to their success. I think when you look at, soccer, just very recently, we saw a soccer player who scored a goal and then did the Shema, which was, to me, it was just beautiful. I must have shown that video to my kids at least 10 times. Wow. At the same time, there are people like Tim Tebow and other people who were not afraid to talk about their faith. So I think, it's really all about the individual and how comfortable they are to bring that connection into sports. I believe everybody is connected in one way or another to their faith. It's just whether they're comfortable enough in order to have that crossover. And, the wonderful thing about the country we live in is that everybody has a opportunity in order to express themselves. Some people have a bigger forum, some people have a smaller forum, but that still doesn't take them away from being able to express how they feel and what they believe in. And as long as it's something that's inclusive and as long as it's something that brings all of us together, I think it's wonderful. I think everybody needs to be able to have a way to express, themselves.
So actually a couple of weeks ago on Holocaust Memorial Day, I'm not sure if you saw this, but Denny Avdiha, the Israeli star for the Washington Wizards, on his sneakers wrote Yizkor, meaning to remember. And it was a pretty powerful moment of an NBA player to write that on his shoes. And especially, what is your opinion of also using sports as a greater platform, right? In terms of, equality written on jerseys. I've heard two opinions. One is, I'm not going to support sports doing that. And the other opinion is, actually, I'm going to support athletes and athletic programs because, as you said, they do have a platform to do that. So how do you see sports making a difference in larger communities and actually really in the entire world?
Yeah, so, I think that, as I said, any expression that brings people together, I am for. I do have to agree with you that, throughout the, past, God knows, year or so, I've had a lot of people who may not agree with that. And a lot of them have maybe stopped watching sports because some people say that, they don't want to see it. And I think, again, we go back to everybody has their own prerogative, in terms of what they think. I believe that we should all try to do things in order to bring everybody together. I think togetherness is great. I think as long as whatever is being, expressed is not something to bring separation, is not something to bring hate, then obviously I am very much against that, no matter who is doing it. But I believe if we can bring everybody together and if we can, share true information, share correct information, and educate each other, that's the only way we can get closer. You break through those barriers by education. You bring through, you go through those barriers by teaching each other. And, one of the things that I love is Julian Edelman. Every single time, I've become such a big fan of his because he actually is not afraid to come out and share. He doesn't come with hate. He doesn't come with fight. He comes to share. And I think that's wonderful. I think somebody like him who has a platform and actually is willing to come out and be able to share information and educate, I'm a big fan of that. And I think it's great in order to do that and be able to, educate and bring everybody together.
I love that, education through sports and sports actually through education. So last question, besides the next billboard, which I know is going to say, come to Sinai Temple for the High Holy Days, what player are we bringing to the Lakers next for the law offices of Jacob Emrani?
Yeah, well, you and I are going to have to put our heads together off camera.
Great.
And I think that's going to have a lot to do with, how this season ends and what needs to be done. But, it's great to be able to do fun stuff. It's great to be able to do things where it brings other sports fans, together. I think sports is amazing because I'll never forget, you could have people of all different religions,
right,
all different backgrounds, and they can disagree and be heated in just about anything. But when you turn on that game, you can have all of them cheering for the same team, the same player. And that's pretty amazing. It's the same way where you can have an 80-year-old man and a 7-year-old grandchild that don't have much, maybe in common to talk about. But you turn on that sports and they're sitting there and the child's sitting in the grandpa's lap and they're cheering for their favorite team. I mean, that is pretty incredible to be able to have sports bring everybody together. And, that's one of the reasons that I push my kids to be in sports. I coach them in everything that they play. And I use that as yet another way in order to not only get close to my kids and build that relationship, but also get close to their friends and to other people in the community. And it also allows you to make such great friends and, friends that you can call, close friends for many, many years to come. So, I think it's a wonderful way to bring positivity, get the kids off of their iPads and, get them doing things that hopefully can help them in the future.
So you said you'll bring the energy and the tie, and I'll bring not the prayers, but the blessings. So we will end with this blessing as we go into an amazing game tonight as the Lakers are in a do or die situation. As we end each portion of the Torah, we say these three words, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and together, Laker Nation, with Jacob Emrani, the law offices of Jacob Emrani, and calljacob.com, together we will be strengthened. Jacob, it's great to see you. Thank you, and let's go Lakers.
Thank you, Rabbi.